Let's discuss asset management in aviation. We are here in the Air France Industries facilities. I am actually the guest of Olivier Pelloux-Prayer. Thank you very much for having me here. First, could you tell us a little bit about yourself? What were you doing even before joining Air France Industries?
I'm Olivier Pelloux-Prayer. I'm here in Air France in charge of the Assets and Subcontracted Repair division. Before that, I've been involved in several supply chain challenges in different companies, more dedicated to garment industry. And since I joined Air France, I discovered a completely new world that I'll be happy to share with you about. That is the aviation industry.
What are your missions at Air France Industries presently?
Here in Air France Industry, maybe let's pause a minute to state what is the mission of our team. So our team supports roughly 200 airlines around the world and ensures that we keep stock and we provide that stock, make it available to the customers so that they can service their aircraft during maintenance operation. So our team is basically in charge of ensuring that we have the right stock at the right place at the right price. We have stock location around the world in more than 10 countries. And the challenge is really to make sure that we optimize the cost of ownership in total and focus on the right alert from supply chain disruption to take the right decision in terms of investment, disinvestment, or just moving location.
In terms of assets that it takes to keep a fleet of aircraft operational, at least a modern fleet of aircraft. Could you share with us some numbers, to have the orders of magnitude? What are we talking about in terms of parts, locations, queues, these sort of things?
Roughly, these 200 airlines are operating 6 different flight types and subtypes. We are managing over 17,000 of references, which is just a huge number, as you can imagine, just to monitor one by one independently. We have an overall stock that's valued at nearly $1 billion, and the components that we manage range from a unit price of just several hundred to a unit price that can go up to $2 million. I'm thinking here of auxiliary power unit, for instance.
I would say the textbook approach at managing stock and having the right balance of stock, etc., having the stock, I would say the right amount of stock at the right time is the mainstream. The classic perspective is the safety stock. So you see, and there is even the textbook supply chain safety stock formula. Is it applicable to aviation? What is your take about how to even think the optimization of the assets?
So obviously this is the easy solution. That's the first thing you would think about. But when you really start digging it further, you see that it brings different limits. The first one and the most obvious is that the cost would be tremendous. We're managing, as I said, aeronautic parts, which prices range up to $2 million. It's not rare to have avionic computers that are in the hundreds of $1,000s. So obviously just buying and locating safety stock everywhere is not the solution. Second thing is you don't have only the initial investment, you also have the cost to maintain all that. So the approach is more to understand what could create an issue in our customers' operation. Remember, we are focused to deliver the best performance to our airlines, all the ones that sign a pool agreement with us. And what we want to assess is where to invest the better to make sure that we maximize that performance, the customer satisfaction, and meanwhile keep the stock at the best level. So definitely, just placing safety stock is not enough.
And so in terms of peculiarities, of specificities of the aviation, when it comes to stock management. For example, one of the peculiarities are the returns of non-used parts. And it seems that there are plenty of things that are not quite like the mainstream view. The mainstream view being there is a producer that produces something, then it ships into large batches to wholesaler, which sends it to a distributor, which with the end consumer at the end. And so it's completely forward. It's very granular at the beginning, very detailed at the end. What are the sort of, I would say, or some of the key gotchas or peculiarities of, I would say, of asset management from an aviation perspective?
So here maybe again, let me precise exactly how the support we provide to our customer is structured. Any airline who wants to maintain an aircraft has a need because suddenly an aircraft, a component runs faulty on the aircraft. So they would call for what we call a serviceable component. So this component they can install on their aircraft right away, meaning that the way our supply chain is structured is circular. We send a serviceable component, then they return some unserviceable component that we need to send back in the repair loop and get repaired either in our own shops or in subcontracting with subcontracting partners. So here, the customer in this way becomes also engaged in the overall turnaround time of that supply chain, and that is what to me makes very peculiar that aviation supply chain. Then to go more precisely to your question, that's not used stock, it's not the only peculiarity. I would say whatever leads an airline to call for a component may be very different. You can have suddenly, I would say, a modification because the aviation industry comes with a lot of technical standards, so they go up and they go on changing. And whenever that happens, then suddenly you would have a peak of demand because there is what we call a service bulletin, so a modification that all the airlines want to apply at the same time on all the aircraft. You have the issue of identifying the root cause of a failure on board of an aircraft. So they would apply troubleshooting procedures, and this troubleshooting would say, okay, replace A, replace B, replace C, and to secure their own operation, turnaround time of their line maintenance operation, they would probably call for A, B, and C simultaneously and use only A or A and B and return C, what we call unused. So without installing it, they would return that to us. And what you start to feel, the way I'm trying to express it, is that the demand is very difficult to analyze. It's not all the calls or requests from the customers for component shall not be analyzed in the same way, especially when you come to try to predict the future demand and dimension the stock.
And Lokad and Air France Industries have now been working together for more than half a decade. Could you describe in your own words, what Lokad and Air France are doing, together, have been doing together for quite a few years now?
Air France has been, facing different challenges, or trying to pursue new ways to optimize stock or to really be more accurate in what we were needing to buy, given all the understanding we have as an airline MRO of what airlines would need, our customers do need, and that was the part that Air France brought to the partnership. Lokad really brought all the data science that really helped us make a much better use of all that amount of data that we have and that accumulates on a daily basis. Again, 17,000 references, that's definitely not something that a human can just take one after the other. What Lokad brought to us is first a very attentive approach where Lokad tried to really understand the business use case and then bring to us all the mathematical background, all the data theory, and build algorithm that would fit our business needs. And that was, I think, what brought so much success to a partnership.
So we are effectively using relatively, I would say, advanced sort of analytics. Was Lokad, the way you would expect a company operating in this so-called AI field or whatever you want to call those advanced analytics? What surprised you the most maybe about the way Lokad operates?
To me, what surprised me and also pleased me a lot is the agile way we had of working. So really bringing a concrete use case and bringing the theory to solve that use case and not just an off-the-shelf product that would just be to use in this way. Like all this differentiable programming, all this very advanced tooling that you have that allows us, in just simple terms, to better predict demand.
Working with the teams of Lokad, could you give us, some concrete example of the sort of value that could be uncovered by going for this sort of approaches and hopefully through Lokad?
So I would have tons of examples that I could choose. Here, if I focus on pure asset management and to assess really stock levels, I think in the past, asset managers were spending quite a lot of their time to run through the data and try to tell them something. And the reality of them today, of their work, is that with the Lokad system, they now get everything available with some analytics built in, so that they spend much more time focusing on what should I invest and where should I put it in terms of worldwide network than just extracting data. The second example I could really bring off my mind right away is referring to the recent crisis we all went through, the COVID. Once when the COVID outburst happened, we took a very agile approach with Lokad to try to store, to freeze whatever we could in the supply chain, anticipating that the supply chain, the demand would suddenly slow down, which happened to be the case, and just reinstall it in our supply chain slowly. And that really made us very agile, very fast. We could certainly have taken such approach, but certainly not as precisely or as quickly. And that was, for me, one of those examples.
And this later case is quite interesting because that was, I would say, a completely unprecedented situation. I mean, worldwide, lockdowns everywhere. Lokad as a company that try to do predictive optimization leveraging historical data. The question is that how is the data even remotely relevant to the sort of crisis that this industry went through? Obviously, pretty much every single industry was impacted, but for aviation, that was really, really big. Was it, from your perspective, was it that the Lokad algorithms were so advanced that they could understand what was happening worldwide? How did it work out from your perspective?
Again, I think I'm coming back to the principle of the partnership. I think, again, we Air France came with a use case that was very concrete. We had kind of an idea, and we brought the data that we were expecting in terms of impact on our customers that wouldn't come from Lokad as such. But what Lokad brought us was the tool and, I would say, the brain to turn that anticipated trend into concrete action. And that really, again, was the key to the success to that operation again.
You've seen quite the recent evolution of, I would say, of the asset management practice at Air France Industries. How do you see the future, maybe 1 decade from now, and what will be the sort of qualities that Air France Industries will seek among its younger colleagues that will join the company? So where are you going? What sort of people do you want to bring in to actually walk this journey with you?
So here I've got 2 dreams. The first one that's already starting turning into reality. I didn't mention that to make this supply chain happen, we have so many people involved in Air France, and not only in Air France because our freight forwarders are partners. So we have so many people involved that if we want to be better, we also need to make sure that whatever we get as an input from Lokad, that is a priority. And again, keeping in mind that our priority is making sure that our customer has the best service level that will never impact his operation, then everybody should align to tackle that one objective. So that was part of some change of organization we made recently. But again, trying to think supply chain not as independent steps where everybody just runs his silo to the best he can, but also say, okay, to the point when there is an emergency, there's something that couldn't be anticipated. How do I manage through my organization? Do I activate all these teams who are passionate about their jobs into making that one priority happen? So that's one. And the second thing is really associated with the tool is, we have made a lot of progress. If I look backwards at what asset management looked like 5 years ago, but ideally, the system should be able to map the overall network and be able to really tell us, okay, that's where you need and how and why to bring even more intelligence to the asset management team. So we're halfway. We did a lot of work, and I'm sure that we are bound for an additional 5 years of new progress together.